pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, before we call the meeting to order, we've got a gentleman here by the name of David Roberts. He had, no, it's here somewhere. I brought it down. Go ahead.
Through the Lincoln County 4-H, we was able to sell some raffle tickets. The Dreamburg Classic was very generous in donating several passes to their event this year to WVU, and WVU took that and gave it out to each of the counties to sell as a fundraiser to raise money for their local and state 4-H camps for scholarships and so forth for children to go to 4-H camp. And we had sold several in the county this year, and it's time for our drawing, and I was going to ask if Mr. McCann would be so kind as to pull 2 of our tickets out.
I can do that. My name's not, I didn't buy one, so
exactly.
I'm in.
Okay. First is DJ Flynn, and we got 2 winners, so and Doug Erling. DJ Flynn and Doug Erling. And what the passes are, each one will win. It's they both get 2 passes. It's all inclusive to watch all the practice rounds, all the golf, the complimentary food and drinks, and actually tickets to the concert series this year. So it was, yeah, very, very nice prize package for both.
Tell them they don't want you to give them $5.
Right.
Yeah. I got somebody that would love to do that.
Yeah, that'd be a great, great trip. But I do thank you all and everybody that purchased tickets. Thanks a lot.
Thank you guys.
Yeah.
This session of the Lincoln County Commission on June 16, 2011 at 10 a.m. is now called to order. Members present is Donald C. Whitten, Clerk, Charles McCann, President, Charles Vance, Commissioner, Thomas Raymond Jr., Commissioner. First thing on the agenda, I need a motion to approve the minutes of the regular session of the Lincoln County Commission meeting that was held on June 2, 2011 at 6 p.m.
So moved.
Motion second, being all yes, motion carries.
Next thing on the agenda, we have Steve Rawlings with the West Virginia Risk Pool.
Welcome, Steve.
Good morning, Commissioners. I appreciate you taking a few minutes of your time today. I have a couple of things I'd like to review before we jump into the workers' compensation element, which is ultimately the reason I'm here. But I want to give you a brief update on the pool, which has some information directly impacting Lincoln County. First of all, just a very brief background as a reminder to the County Commission as well as to those that are in attendance today. The County Commission is a member and an owner of your own self-insurance risk pool. You do not pay a third party for your property and liability coverages. You actually own the program. So the contributions that you make go into the pot of funds with the other 33 county commissions that are members of this risk pool, and those 34 county commissions and 43 other county-related authorities, you self-insure. And so the monies that get paid out are your monies as far as for claims, for the services and the risk control, and then any monies left over at the end of any one fiscal year belongs to the membership. And then that money and the overall operations are controlled and has oversight that is controlled by a member of your peers that you elect every year to put on that board to see what is going to occur from the services, the claims, the coverages, and so on and so forth. So again, just a very brief background that you are a member and an owner of this program. You also have been a member of this program since the very first year. You all joined the last quarter of the very first year, so it's making you ultimately a founding member of the pool. One of the major hallmarks of any risk pool, and there are 48 states that have risk pools in this country. West Virginia became the 48th state when you all formed one in 2007. One of the hallmarks of any risk pool is stability of cost, and the goal is that you won't see changing rates up and down over time like you've seen with a commercial product, where things are going great and you keep reduction, then all of a sudden things go poorly, whether it's going to be 9/11 or Katrina or fire or major fire losses, and the rates tick back up. You see more of a stability of cost, that you don't see that up and down, so you know what to expect year after year. This pool has maintained that goal as far as maintaining those rates. Those rates are the same today as what they were when you all first joined the pool. They have not changed a dime. That is going to change next year, as you all probably recognize in your renewal. The board did vote to reduce rates this year by a couple of points. We're not talking a lot, but we are talking a couple of points. We reduced the rates overall. So with that in mind, if you had the exact same number of vehicles, the exact same value and number of buildings, and the exact same net operating expenditure that you had last year, you would have seen a couple of point reduction. Now obviously, as time goes on, building values change, equipment values change, number of vehicles change, NOE changes, so that may reflect whether it's up or down overall cost, but the rates have been reduced for next year. My hope would be is that would be something that you wouldn't see go the other direction. The goal isn't to reduce it 10 or 12% this year and go, oh well, maybe we need to put 5% more on it next year and increase that. So the goal is to hopefully that reduction would be something that you don't see go the other direction. With that also in mind, another element of the risk pool is the monetary funds that are left over. Currently today, the risk pool at the end of the 3 fiscal years, and we're getting ready to end our 4th, at the end of 3 fiscal years, we actually have $1.75 million in the bank that belongs to you. That would have been money to the Board of Risk, that would have been income to a commercial provider, but that still belongs to you. That's your money that's never gone anywhere, that's controlled by your peers, the other county commissioners that sit on that pool board. With that said, the question that I always receive is what happens to that money? This year, those board members that sit on that pool board have exercised their rights and decided that it is important to return some of that money to those pool members. And what they did was they took a chunk from the money that was left over the very first year. So you all participated in the 07-08 year, you all took part in that last quarter, and in that last quarter you all contributed roughly about $19,000 was your element of that last quarter of donation to the pool, or contribution rather. They took a small portion of that money left over. They didn't want to take all of it because it's kind of a rainy day fund. That's the free and clear. It's kind of a rainy day perspective. But they did take a small chunk of that, and they've divvied that money out percentage-wise to how much members participated and how much they contributed to the program. With that in mind, after July 1st, Lincoln County Commission will receive a check from the West Virginia County Risk Pool for right at $479 as a small portion of that. You all contributed roughly about 2% or so to the pool based upon that percentage that you participated, and your return is about 2.3% of that. So ultimately we're returning commensurate with what you all contributed to the pool, and the reason why that is the case is that you all had 0% loss ratio that first year. You had no losses that first year. I only had a handful of county commissions that can say that. So you all have a very good loss ratio with us, a very good loss history with us overall. And so that's ultimately where the pool stands. It's your ownership. You are getting money back from the pool. And that's something that's never happened with county commissions in the state of West Virginia before. You've never received a check back from your provider that was giving you the coverages that you've purchased or that you've entered into a contract for in reference to the insurance piece. With that said, you all are also very well aware that for the last 18 or 20 months, the county risk pool has been very diligent on trying to form a workers' compensation element to the program. With that in mind, I'm here today to present you with a proposal for the workers' compensation element that would be a line of coverage within the same pool. We're not looking at forming a separate pool. It would not be a separate set of board members. It would be the same pool, same board members. It's just like you have property, liability, auto. It would be property, liability, workers' comp, auto, crime, and so on. So it would be a line of coverage within the same program. Ultimately, the goal is to grow the pool, to make it stronger, because the more contributions you have coming in, the stronger the pool gets. In addition to also having you have an opportunity to have a one-stop shop, if you will, for all of the county's needs when it comes to your liability, property, workers' compensation coverage. You come to one location for that opportunity to have that control, that ownership. And again, if things continue to go well, if the actuarial or all 3 actuarial reviews we've had on the workers' compensation program meets out, then there should be some money left over the way that you've seen the P&C program work as well. Ultimately, I can't say what exactly will happen, but actuarially that's what it looks like. With that said, I do have proposals. You have a proposal already?
Yes, and they have a copy of.
They have a copy? Okay. Oh, I do have 4. For some reason, I thought I had 3. One was hiding back behind the other stack there. With what you have in front of you, there's a couple of elements that I'd like to kind of go over. And actually, before we get too terribly far, here is one additional piece of information that I think is important to go along. That goes along with that. If you'll look at that map, and I realize that it might be a little bit offensive to the eyes, I apologize. It's that checkered board in there is a little bit obscene.
I like it green color.
It works pretty well, but sometimes you might need to stay back and look at it. But long story short, you'll notice that there are 34 county commissions that out of the 55. So 62% of the county commissions participate in the property and casualty element of this pool. You'll also notice that there are 20 county commissions that are shaded in that, that checkerboard pattern. And right at 3 weeks now, we have been in front of 23 county commissions and presented this workers' compensation pool. On that map, there are 20, actually there's 24. There are 20 of those that are actually colored in that grid that have agreed to go with the workers' compensation element of the risk pool. The only reason 24 are not colored on there is because 4 more added on the last 2 days. That would be Wood County, Wayne County, Roane County, and Marion County have also jumped on. So all of those that we have proposed to at this point in time have actually joined the workers' compensation element of the program. Again, it's all about the ownership. It's about your control, just as a visual perspective, if you will. With that said, in that proposal that you have in front of you, understand that workers' compensation in West Virginia is unlike the property and casualty coverage. Workers' compensation, I can't come in here and tell you that I'm going to cover a claim that your current provider would not, or that a third party, another third party could come in here and say that they would cover something that I would not. Workers' compensation in West Virginia, just like many other states and most other states, is statutorily defined. A compensable claim is a compensable claim. It doesn't matter if you have provider A, B, C, or the pool. They should all dictate and determine that that claim is either compensable or it's not underneath the same guidelines. So what is compensable, what is not in question here at this point. You're not looking at coverage, if you will, being expanded, reduced, or changed in that circumstance. Except for if you look to the second to the last page on that proposal that I gave you, there is the employer's liability element. It says coverage at the very top of that page. The employer's liability that we provide coverage for on that page, it shows it's $1 million for each lines of those coverage, which is injury by accident, injury by disease per person, and injury by disease per accident. We offer those $1 million for each one of those lines. Your current provider, their base coverage, and you have to purchase over that if you want the $1 million, their base coverage is $100,000, $100,000, $500,000. So unless you purchase up, currently you don't have the $1 million. We actually provide additional coverage over top of what you currently have. This is in addition. And this is part of our proposal. This is included. Everyone gets this. This is not something that we've done special for one county or another. We provide this for everyone. With that said, if you'll please flip to the last page of the proposal. I had spoken to Judy Johnson, the county administrator, about 2 weeks ago and obtained your payroll estimates for the upcoming year. I provided her with a proposal that you'll see that there is $24,599 based upon those figures that I was provided. I did receive an update yesterday that the proposal from your current provider uses different payroll numbers. That the payroll numbers that they use, number one, are less, and that the payroll numbers that they use, one of which has been indicated to me is inaccurate in the respect that you all do not operate a child care center, as well as also the fact that you all have an animal control officer that's not actually broken out. That you'll see that I've broken out the animal control officer. You'll see that as 8831, which is the hospital, which is the vet and drivers. That's your animal control officer. So with that said, what I did was, and you'll see that the rates are listed there very clearly and very clearly identified what those rates happen to be. So what I did is, based upon those circumstances and the information, I reworked the information, and I just have one copy. You go ahead and hold on to that and pass it around. You'll notice that based upon those modified contribution numbers, not changing any of the not changing any of the rates, it's just the payroll contributions. That contribution is no longer $24,599, it's $19,034. So it's reduced a significant amount. Ultimately, it would be up to the county commission as to whether or not, really two elements. Number one, whether or not you wanted to do the workers' compensation through the West Virginia County's risk pool. And number two, if you wanted to use the higher payroll numbers or the lower payroll numbers. As you all are well aware, that the NCCI system that the state went into when it abolished the state program, that's something that all providers have to follow. So it's Brick Street has to follow that, Wells Fargo has to follow that program, the West Virginia County's risk pool. We get estimated payrolls, and at the end of each fiscal year, we would come back and we would audit the previous year to make sure that those numbers that we've received are accurate, making sure that you either didn't hire or remove somebody from office or from the position, whether or not the overtime was accurate. And based upon the circumstances, you would either receive a debit or a credit. So you would either receive a bill for additional money or you would receive money back from money that you all did not. That doesn't change. That's just the NCCI system. You're always a year behind. That's just the system that works now in West Virginia. So with that circumstance being the case, really what you're looking at now is that it's with the additional coverage, you'll probably notice that my proposal might be a few dimes higher or a couple of pennies higher than what the current provider is. But also please recognize a couple of elements. Number one, we have the higher employer's liability coverage, so you're getting more coverage under that perspective. But number two, you're an owner of your own program. Any monies that are left over, again, can and will be returned to you under some circumstances. You have control over that board. You say who sits on that program. And this gives you, again, control over this element, just like you've taken control over the property and casualty. So at this point in time, what I'd like to do is go ahead and stop my droning, because I can drone on all day, and I'm sure you all have other things to do. But I would like to ask you all if you all have any questions, and to determine whether or not you have an interest in joining the West Virginia County's risk pool for the workers' compensation element of this program.
Commissioners, the reason I gave you the greater amount on the payroll was because I took the budget that we have proposed for the next fiscal year, and I took all of the salaries and added those up, and that's how I got the numbers for the higher payroll.
Which is the accurate way to do that. Ultimately, that's the accurate way, is that you predict what you have with the information that you've received or that you've approved for the following year, and you contribute that and you identify that. One other element also to note that you all didn't receive your proposal from your current provider until yesterday. Okay, it's June 16th today. You all are well aware that with the property and casualty element that you receive your proposals and your renewal information by March 15th from the West Virginia County's risk pool. So before your budgets have to be finished, you know what you have to pay for the following year. Workers' compensation will be no different. We will do it early in the year. You will know months before the end of the year. You will not have to guess what it will be. It will be something that will be included in that element, and so you don't have to guess what's going to happen the last 2 or 3 weeks of the fiscal year. So we provide that early, and this would be the same process.
And as he stated, Brick Street, we got it yesterday, and it was $18,540. But I'm the one who fills the workers' comp claims out, and I am the one who has to deal with them, you know, when everything goes wrong. Brick Street is not the easiest company to deal with. I have dealt with West Virginia Risk Pool, and I'm not saying it's just because Steve's here. You get on the computer, you file a claim, that's it. Your adjuster calls you, they take it over. And I have a feeling that the workers' comp will probably do the same thing. You can ask J.J. Napper over a bill that he has, and Geraldine Patton. We have been dealing with workers' comp, and J.J. doesn't work here no longer, but we're still, you know, it's just, I don't know.
So, sitting as a commissioner trying to evaluate whether to stay as we are and pay less money, or to move to the risk pool, which we've had good success with, and pay a little more. The two things that there may be more, but one is we're the owners, we're in control, would be a reason to make that decision in a positive way. And the other is we're getting more liability protection, $900 and some thousand dollars, or $900,000 more per, as we see on last page. Of course, the only, I guess, I like the idea of risk pool because it's, as has proven in the 3 years or whatever it is, that it's been good, and you know, our fellow people, commissioners across the state, take it seriously and operate it in a business way with your all's guidance. So it's hard not to think that we should give it a chance to do it, since we're within $1,000 of the public's money to do. But we have to make a decision before the end of this month. Is that correct?
Yes, sir, that's correct, because your coverage expires on July 1st. Yes, sir.
I would venture to say, with the risk pool, when we started out with a certain amount of payment, that has went down over time. Would you think that with this, we would also, while we might pay more up front, later would be able to compete and maybe bring that down to a competitive rate?
Ultimately, my response to that would be depending upon the losses that occur, depending upon the structure of the, and there's some technical reasons why the rates are what they are when it comes to the tax impositions of a self-insurance program as to why those rates are what they are. I would hope that would be the answer. I can't tell you that that will be the answer. Ultimately, in this situation, this is a program that is self-funded by you, that we would hope to see that over time. Again, the goal is to have that rate stability, so the rates that are in there are things that we don't expect to go up. We don't also expect them to go down anytime, next year or the year after either. We expect them to remain stable. That's the goal of the pool, that you don't see that up and down. With the workers' compensation element, we see that as well. That's our goal under those circumstances. That would be nice. I'd like to see that go down. I'd like to see it go down next year. Can I tell you that's going to happen? I can't tell you that's going to happen. Is it possible? Yes, it's possible.
I could see it going down in this scenario more so than Brook Street.
We could also talk about is it the Elmore, the 1.17?
Yes, ma'am.
In Brick Street, they had us grouped in the same group here, in the same policy number and everything, with the Opportunity Company and the EDA. And I know the Lincoln Opportunity Company had several claims, and I think that went against their rates.
That does.
As with here, it would just be us standing alone.
Just be you. You'll be alone, and we'll split you out completely because we won't have anything to do with that, and so that could drastically impact your experience mod, which again goes back to the service perspective. It's our goal to look at those members and look at those entities, whether it's Lincoln County or Wayne County or Berkeley County, whatever, and making sure that we're doing right by that county commission or right by that member as a whole, to make sure we're providing that. And if you're not part of that Opportunity Company where you're currently what appears to be combined with them as far as the law, we're going to split you all out and give you all a more favorable experience mod, because ultimately those losses that you're being judged against aren't yours, and you shouldn't be judged against them because they're not you. So ultimately our goal will be to remove that, and it should have it. I would hope that would have a direct impact next year on your experience mod, which would be a direct impact on your overall costs.
Being a healthcare provider, I've dealt with Brick Street quite a bit, and they are difficult. But, I also have sat on the medical malpractice advisory panel for West Virginia Board of Risk Investment. And I know when we were talking about during the professional liability crisis we had a few years ago, we were talking about what we were going to do and setting up a professional mutual insurance company for the state. I had the opportunity to talk with the people that dealt with, at that time it wasn't Brick Street, it was the West Virginia State that was dealing with the risks and things of workers' compensation. And one of the reasons they decided to privatize that was that they were having a hard time with their losses they were, as far as they basically couldn't make money. I couldn't exist because of the losses. Brick Street has instituted several things as far as getting people back to work and making sure they get their things back. What do you all do about that? I mean, how do you all handle that?
We have a couple of things going on. First of all, we'll do bill review for all the bills that come in and making sure that you are being charged the appropriate amount. We'll send those out to a third party that will review those bills, do price reduction, and then issue those appropriately. Number two, we also will have return to work programs. We'll offer to work with you to help create panels of physicians. We certainly encourage and we'll certainly support you and help you institute any sort of programs or procedures for return to work. and any other safety and supportive programs, such as we have OSHA 501 trainers on staff that we can create and do programs to help train your employees on safe operations, as well as any other connected risk control elements. And this is actually where you start combining the exposures for both property and casualty as well as workers' compensation. And very simply, the answer to that is, as far as when it comes to how they're combined, is look at your sheriff's deputies. Every time they're involved in a vehicle accident, you're not just wrecking a cruiser. You're potentially putting one of your deputies in a hospital, which would be the potential for there to be a workers' compensation claim. If we can address one side of that element, we're also addressing the other side, which means we give you a benefit on both sides of that table, because we can come in and we can focus on everything at one time versus just focusing on one or the other, which allows us to have this complete program, which is intended to have more of a benefit upon the county.
And when we sign on for this, if we look at it in a year, because this is, I guess it's kind of a new product for you too, right? I mean,
It is. That's correct. For the West Virginia County's risk pool, it is. It's going to be, again, an element. It's a new element of the pool. It's going to be a new line of coverage in the same pool. So that's correct. Ultimately, you're looking at the same position that you all were in 07, 08, that you're looking at a new program. I had one or two county commissions, actually 3 or 4 county commissions, ask me just straight face and said, "Why should we do this? Why should we do the West Virginia County's risk pool?" And my short answer is that it makes more sense today to do the workers' compensation element than what it was when those first 19 county commissions, in addition to the Lincoln County Commission. It makes more sense for you all to do this today than what it did for you all to join the pool and start the pool back in 07, 08, because today we're sitting on $1.75 million. They started with nothing. There was no track record. We told you what the coverages would be. We told you what the services would be. You had no track record. It was just a leap of faith. This year, you're looking at there's a 4-year track record or a 3-year track record. You're looking at there's $1.75 million in the bank. We've got more than, we had 1 actuarial study on the very first risk pool. We've got 3 on this one because as information kept going in, we kept getting actuarial studies. So ultimately, the point would be is that even if you were to add, and that's the question too, right now we're about $500 higher than what your current provider is. If you were to ask them to add the $1 million in employer's liability, we would either be right at the same cost or potentially a little bit lower. I don't know what they charge for a county commission that would be paying $19,000 a year to have that $1 million. It might only be $100. It might be $1,000. I quite frankly don't know. But understand that if you were to increase that employer's liability, we would be much, much closer than that $500 that you're looking at now. So with the control, with your ownership, with the money that, number one, you are getting back from the pool, although it's not a ton of money, I do expect next year to be the same thing. They'll take a little bit from the first year and a little bit from the second year, and then you would get another dividend check the following year. That's not up to me. That's going to be up to your counterparts to sit on that pool board. But if things continue to go well, I would expect that to be the circumstance. So that's kind of my background or support of the overall program. I think it's something that could be good. I will say, and let me bring this in, that the administrative firm for which I work, we've been doing workers' compensation in Virginia now since 2001, so this is not something that we are brand new, that was as if we don't have any idea what we're doing. We have had this and we're starting our 11th year now. The workers' compensation in Virginia and West Virginia, as with the PNC, are very, very close in the respect that you have statutorily defined information. If an employee wishes to challenge a claim, then they go to the insurance commissioner. So those things are very similar. Things that are covered are very similar in certain circumstances. So when you talk about this being a new product for the West Virginia County's risk pool, you're absolutely correct. From the perspective of the administrative firm, this is not necessarily our first rodeo in the perspective of working with workers' compensation claims, knowing how to work with doctors and physicians and hospitals and getting them back to work and doing safety programs and having programs that are beneficial for those members.
Any other discussion? Anybody in the audience got any questions, concerns? So at this time, what's the will of the pleasure of the commissioners? Do you feel that?
I must do it and accept these proposals. We can always look at it in a year or so and see what's going on.
We'll second that motion.
In motion and second, that be an all yes vote. Motion carries.
Gentlemen, I appreciate your time. Thank you very much.
We'll just keep your little computer.
That's fine. That'll work. That'll work. That'll be great. I'll let my administrator know you guys have that. We are actually, we are working with the state insurance commissioner right now. We expect to receive formal approval for the pool, hopefully today, because today what we have is we have written approval for the proposals, but then we have to go to them with the group of people that says, okay, these are the ones that have signed up. And yesterday we gave them that, actually Monday we gave them that information. They met yesterday morning, and we gave them also the reinsurance information. This is reinsured as the same way that the property and casualty pool is. So my recommendation would be to wait until we make a formal announcement, which I'm hoping to make tomorrow, that the state has accepted everything and we're going forward. But I
Do we
certainly
need to sign anything?
there's nothing to sign right now. What we've done is we've actually modified the member agreement, and we're going to get those new ones out at the end. Once we get that formal announcement out, we'll include with that the member agreement. But you all, there's nothing to sign at this point in time. The motion is.
And I noticed in the information we have, we can make quarterly payments.
Yes, sir. You may. Yeah. In fact, that's with the way that workers' compensation payments go out when individuals get injured, that allows us to do the quarterly payment because those things progress over time. It's not something that you lay out $100 grand at one point in time. It's things go slowly with work comp claims.
With that, then we need a check
Well,
to you by July.
You do not. We have not issued any sort of invoices yet, but we will do so, and there will be like a 30 or 60 day notice on that, and we'll get that information to you. It's not something that if you don't pay by July 1st, you don't have coverage. It will not work that way. We'll make sure we take care of you on that.
Yeah, we don't need to get into it.
That's perfectly okay. That's not a problem. We'll be good. We'll be okay with that. Commissioners, I appreciate your time. Thank you very much.
We going to get a check next year?
Well, I hope so too. I hope things go well, and I appreciate your involvement, and you'll have a wonderful day.
Please do. Okay, next thing on the agenda is Rick McDowell.
Welcome, Rick. We're going to get one of those little computers.
I don't have anything fancy. All I have is old paper. You think the project should buy something on it? Waste some money?
It's a waste project, isn't it?
Well, that's true, it is. I didn't think about it. You're quick this morning.
We give him a pat on the back for that.
Wanted to give you an update on the wastewater project and some stuff about Camp Lakeview. June 10th, we had final inspections of some systems. The final inspections are done by the district sanitary of the systems that are direct discharge. So all of these are direct discharge, so he has to check them. So at that point, he approved some more, so we are up to 9 out of the 24 that are in having been approved. So considering we got a pretty late start, Wiseman was moving forward pretty rapidly with that. On the 13th, just a couple days ago, we submitted a proposal for phase 4. About 4 days before that, we got something from the DEP that said, if you're interested, you need to get it into us. So we went ahead and cranked something out. I'll talk about that in just a little while. And July 1st is the deadline for the bids from the maintenance providers. The community has created this maintenance organization. It's now a 501c3 tax exempt, and they're in the process of getting some of the investment actually bids for that. If you look on the next page, there's a one of those charts for the direct discharge samples by homes. The most recent are the columns to the left, and if you look down there, you'll notice that we had a sample that was 270 colonies. What we're looking for is 200 or under, and all the samples we've done through the second phase, which is the ARRA, we're in the third right now, have been less than 10. So we had a high sample there. And I want to just take a little bit of time and talk about sort of what that points out and this whole thing about maintenance issues. We've found some problems that I've talked about as we roll these projects out. And I think the interesting thing is that all the problems that we found have not been found by the required maintenance that the state asks people to do. It's been found by the projects doing extra kind of work, or doing these water samples that aren't required by the state. And it points out a general kind of problem that I'm hoping the maintenance, when we form this maintenance organization, we're going to be able to address. And that is that what the state requires of maintenance is not really a high enough standard, given how complex these systems are. What the state says is you've got to go out and make sure that the light is working, that all the lines are hooked up, and that you got electricity to it and everything looks good. We're a little more picky, and we're doing a little more. So what the hope is, and Craig's been working on this, we've had some meetings with potential maintenance providers. The hope is that the maintenance provider would become sort of a partner with us, and that we'd be able to work a little more hand in glove with them to try to figure out in advance what kind of things we should be troubleshooting for. The other thing I think it points out is that there's sort of a culture, and it's not just in the left fork, it's a culture of what you can throw down your septic system. And the big culprits we're finding are that people are letting too much grease from their cooking get into their system, and that they're probably overusing chemicals in their system above what the manufacturer says. The manufacturer says put in a quarter cup of bleach, I'll put in a whole cup of bleach because it's going to do a better job. And it's easier to tell when we got a problem with grease, because you lift up the septic tank lid and you can see a scum of grease. It's harder to tell if somebody's putting in too many chemical products. But we're trying to work with the community to get them to understand how important that is. But like I say, the hope is that the new maintenance provider will work more carefully with us. The other thing, and I'll talk about this in just a second, is that one of the thoughts for phase 4 is that we sort of shift positions around a little bit, and that we sort of create a different position, which is somebody who works coordinatingly with the maintenance provider, who will work more closely with that person to ensure that these things happen. So we'll see. I think we're learning. I think it's going to be good for the project, but I think it's going to be good for the state as well. If you look on the next page, you see the draft proposal that we sent to the DEP. I still haven't figured out exactly how the DEP works, and exactly how they make their decisions about stuff. I think they may still be working on it too. I think they needed, that what they wanted was to get as many ideas as they could into the hopper so that they could begin to figure out their budget. So our draft at this point, that's just a draft so that we could change it when we actually get to the point where we're going to write the actual budget, is a budget for $670,000. And that would include putting in 16 new systems. And we would probably bid it out in 2 bids, one for in-ground systems, one for direct discharge systems. It would also deal with a couple of problems. We've got one, we've got a leaking concrete tank that I've talked to you about before. Another, we've got a system that was put in, I guess you'd have to call it the direct overflow area of one of the creeks, so that whenever there's a flood, that system's going to be flooded, which is not a good thing. We fixed those two. The other thing that we've included in this is that we would do 2 trainings, both of them for installers, maintenance people, state people, health department people, so that we could sort of get them a little more up to level on these new technologies. Because a lot of people who talk about these transducers that we're using, they don't have a clue what it is. So the thought is if we can get more installers to understand these things, we have a bigger bid pool, and we'd also have people who are a little more knowledgeable. The other thing under the training would be that we want to have some summits for agencies where we would bring together people from DHHR and DEP at something like Chief Logan for a day, where they could come in the night before and we'd get them a room and we'd feed them and we'd pay their mileage, we'd sort of make it, you know, a little perky for them, and we'd sit around and talk about some of the issues that we're finding in the project to try to influence the state in how they're dealing with these kind of issues. I talked about some administrative changes. We're looking at we right now have a staff of 3. We're looking to have a staff of 4. There would be a new hire that would be a project facilitator. That person would work a lot of their work would be working directly with the agencies to try to move the agencies along, to get reports done, to make sure that grant submissions get in. We would sort of reconfigure what Craig's doing into a technical and management coordinator who would work more directly with the management person that the community hires. I'd move to a training coordinator and bookkeeper role and reduce the amount of time that I was being paid, maybe not the amount of time I'm there, but at least the amount of time I'm being paid, hopefully the amount of time I'm there. And then Nona would continue with her role as a community liaison person. We continue doing all the tests that we're doing with the tributaries and the systems, and the rest of the kind of stuff would stay the same. So I'm not sure exactly when we're going to find out anything about this. The proposal is that we would actually begin the bidding process next January. We would award the bids in February, so that would sort of get the cycle so that it matches the close of this one. What I might end up doing, once the DEP gives us some kind of a nod, is come to the commission and ask if we could do what we've done before, in that the commission would advance some costs before we actually got the grant. That's
Sound
the
like
thought.
you've been busy.
Well, hopefully busy in a good way. Sometimes it seems like we're running around in circles.
Well, it seems to me like I just get more excited about it every time we complete one, and there's this breath of encouragement that we can maybe get another one. So I just think that's super for the people and good for clean water and all that.
So far, it seems like they're willing to do that.
Well, that speaks well for you all.
The other thing, I know when we talked to the community about this, one of the things the community said is, what, you're only asking for 16 more systems? Why don't you ask for 40? Why don't you? But our feeling is, as we talk about this, is that, you know, we do have issues with some of these systems. While they're not broken, they need some tweaking. And, you know, if we decided to put in another 25 or 30 systems, it takes a lot of energy to sort of get that to happen. And I think we need to put some energy into making sure these things are really working well. So we're going to reduce the number of systems, but put more time on some of this troubleshooting kind of thing, which I think really makes the best.
Yeah, we don't want to get ahead of ourselves as far as this maintenance.
Yes, yes. So that's the wastewater stuff. I just want to give you a quick update on Camp Lakeview. There's 2 things there for Camp Lakeview. One is the Free Wednesdays program. We started it yesterday. Unfortunately, we still have not been able to coordinate with Tri-River to get, the hope was, and the discussions we started at the end of last calendar year, were to do some bus rides. I was hoping throughout the county to bring kids there, with the thought that parents would be more willing to send their kids if there was supervision, if there were lifeguards, if they were going to get fed, if there was water, all of which we provided. So we tried to make it work yesterday. The only people who showed up were the people who were going to help me. So
We did go to Tri-River yesterday to provide buses the first 2 weeks and the first 2 scheduled days. See how it goes.
after yesterday.
Yeah, yeah, we managed it.
Okay.
So So you got two coming.
Okay.
Oh, we authorized that yesterday.
All right, well, hopefully, I mean, the thought, when last year we did one, we just tried one, and we had, I don't know, 15 people show up, and the thought was that if parents knew, okay, it's gonna be every other Wednesday for the rest of the summer, they might get in a groove of sending their children there, so we'll see what happens. Hopefully we can make this work, because it's fun, it could be, kayaks and swimming, and peanut butter and jelly sandwiches.
We could probably talk our staff here into going up there and having lunch.
Well, we could do that. We could even put some of them in kayaks.
For the rest of the afternoon, I know they go.
The other thing that's there is we have finished the new changing building that we talked about a couple months ago. There's a photo of that there. It's got sort of like something you have at the beach. It's got 5 stalls on one side for women, 5 stalls on the other for men. It's sited so that the roof is facing directly south, so that if we ever get some money to put in solar panels, we could do that. And it's also designed so we can put in composting toilets if we get a joint for the composting toilets. So, John Sahlstrom did the design and was helped by Joe Bruder to put it in. He took time off from working here and Camp Haven directly to do that. So we're pretty happy with it. I think where it really is providing helpful is when we have school groups come out. We have 80 kids that you try to get changed and get in the water and then get changed to get on the bus. It's going to be a big deal for that.
Well, we certainly appreciate the board trying to make this thing happen. It's been slow, but certainly always encouraged to know it's a bad deal something else.
Yeah, we hope that it encourages the public too when they go out there and they see something.
I think so.
Something new. So we'll keep doing it. The newspaper's been very helpful in getting the word out about what we're doing. I think maybe we will have annual kayak races in August. I think maybe in July we'll do a free Sunday for families, and we might do some sort of formal dedication of this changing building. We've also talked about trying to coordinate some sort of a bicycle ride that might end up close where they could get off their bikes and then maybe swim to the camp. We're trying to figure out whether this is going to be a triathlon or that's in the works. Okay, thank you.
Okay, Commissioners, I am going to skip down to right before the public comments, because it gives me great pleasure to introduce Larry Statler, because he has a big announcement for Lincoln County that I am so excited about. So Larry, I'll give you the floor.
Welcome, Larry.
Thank you, Judy, and thank you, Commissioners, for having us today. It's the honor and pleasure of the Lincoln Economic Development Authority to introduce 2 guests that we have with us today that's going to make a presentation to the County Commission concerning our Certified Development Community status. The 2 folks that we have with us today are Deputy Executive Director of the West Virginia Development Office, Mr. Mark Julian, and the Community Development Manager of the West Virginia Development Office, Mr. Ralph Goolsby. I'm very honored that they came to make this presentation to the Commission and really to the entire Lincoln County community, because it's for the county and it's for our economic development efforts that we are meeting here to recognize this milestone. So without further ado, I'll ask Deputy Director Julian if he would explain a little bit about the program and make the presentation to our group.
Commissioners, good morning.
Welcome, gentlemen.
Morning. I'll say greetings from Charleston, as long as that doesn't get us in trouble here. It's a real pleasure for me to be here on behalf of the Governor and Secretary of Commerce Burdette to present your Certified Development Community designation. And thank you for your commitment to this. As you know, this program or initiative is a joint effort between the Development Office, the State Chamber of Commerce, and Washington Economic Development Council. And the key part about today's global situation is being competitive, being prepared. So your commitment to this is very much appreciated from the state level, It's a designation that says you're serious about development, and I can tell you increasingly every day that's important to what we do, to state level. But what that means, so the community understands that, first of all, you've got a commitment to economic development through the Development Authority, and your support of them. You've got an active business recruitment and retention efforts, which is so critical to take care of existing business and being prepared to recruit. You've done an assessment of your community as to things you need to work on and developed a strategic plan. You've done an assessment of your commercial and industrial sites. And last but not least is you're actively promoting and managing an industrial park, which is critical to what we do. Because in today's market, again, you've got to be prepared. You've got to have sites. You've got to have infrastructure. You've got to have a commitment to actively work a project. Those communities that are ready, that are prepared to work with us, are more likely to be successful. So it's with great pleasure that we're here today to present your sign. I think the Highway Department beat us as we were. I wasn't paying attention when I was driving. Ralph said, "Hey, did you notice the signs?" And I said, "Well, I thought we were going to present the sign." So it's good that the Highway Department's got them up. So, but we're glad to be here to present this and congratulate you. We're very proud of you. You've been a part of our efforts, particularly in regard to the Local Economic Development Program and now the Certified Development Community Program for, I think, 18 years. So we appreciate it, and so we're pleased to be here and present this to you.
We're just happy to have you here and happy to hear the news. Of course, Mr. Stutler and the staff have been working toward this for a long time on their board, and I'm sure it's a well-deserved from his side of the table.
Absolutely, and that's key. I mean, we work with Larry and Tommy and across the state, and it's important to have those full-time committed staff to work projects. There's areas of the state that we don't have, and communities suffer. This is a full-time business, very, very competitive, even more now than ever, with other emerging markets in India and China and Vietnam, and go down the list. So very competitive situation. So this is a huge accomplishment, and we appreciate it. And we're so pleased to be here and present this.
Hey, gentlemen, you want to step down?
Appreciate you.
See you again.
Good to see you, sir. Ralph Gould. How you guys doing? Any order, wherever.
This is the president.
Okay.
Present to Charles.
3, 2, 1. Thank you.
Really appreciate it.
One thing I'd like to add is that Larry's done a lot of work with the county. Commission's been very supportive through your support of our local economic development grant. We do have a grant program that helps support the projects of keeping our local development authorities in business, and your match is critical to keeping the organization going. And on behalf of, I'll say it because Larry won't, on behalf of the Lincoln County Development Authority, certainly as a grant administrator, we certainly appreciate the support that you all have given the Lincoln County Development Authority. I hope that you continue to do that. I understand that budgets are very tight, very, very tight, and we understand that we make sure, as a part of what we do with the grant program, is we ensure that folks are spending the money the way they're supposed to be spending it.
Well, it's a priority with us when it comes to budget time. It's never a question. It's just a matter of what do we need to do, and that's
Yes,
it.
sir. And I do appreciate that. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Good to see you. All right.
Thank you. Thanks so
Larry, extend a thank you to your board members too.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Commissioner.
Take care, see you guys.
Next thing on the agenda is the Hearth Veterans and Community Center, Fulford Community Center. You can understand why Ms. Sharp's not here. She always brings us the minutes. Chair, do you have anything that you would like to talk about at the Louisville Community Center?
As far as what the board and the community center are on, I really don't know. But as far as Southwestern and outreach, I can tell you a little bit better. The outreach is going wonderful. We have no problems. And we want to express our deepest gratitude to the county commission. Through you guys, we've been able to help 5 burnout families in the last 3 weeks and a cancer and their family. And we are deeply, deeply connected. Thank you.
You got the truckload of furniture.
Yes, we got the last one yesterday.
You got some
And
of that too?
Southwestern are getting 20 meals a day now.
I did converse with the sheriff before the meeting, Alan Harts. We do have a deputy there on site now, living in the trailer, and so that should help us in the Harts area as far as response time, things like that.
Thomas, do you have anything to add about the? I know that we had our cleanup, our community cleanup in the Harts area, and I talked to, yes, it was over the last weekend, and they brought another dumpster yesterday to clean up a little bit that was left there. I got a call from the community center thanking us for the other dumpster. And I think the next site will either be in Alcohol or Allen Creek. And then we've got 6 different sites this summer.
Yeah, that was a huge success.
Okay, next thing on the agenda is the Heritage Road in Allen Creek. As you all know, that the Frederick Creech petitioned the county commission to close the Heritage Road. It was put in the paper. At the last meeting, we asked if there was any objections. I've received no objections. Do the pleasure of the commission.
Is there a motion to close this road as we discussed at the last meeting? There's no objections from the community.
So moved.
I'll second that.
Motion and second, all yes. Motion carries.
Okay, next thing on the agenda is the hearing of the estate of June Farmer. I have spoken with both attorneys, and Stephen Gerald, who was the attorney for the petitioner, to remove the executor. They have canceled, would like for us to dismiss this petition because they're going to take it to circuit court.
Do we need to officially vote to dismiss it?
Yes.
I'll make a motion to dismiss.
Second.
A motion and second to dismiss. All yes, motion carries.
On to new business, I need a motion to approve the bills as submitted for payment.
So moved.
A motion and second, would that be an all yes? Motion carries.
I need a motion to approve the appointments, wills, and settlements as submitted by Donald C. Whitman, clerk.
So,
Second.
Motion and second, be an all yes? Motion carries.
And upon advice taken to not list the estates anymore, I will be just having it like this, but in the orders, we will be having the names of the estate of the people. So I just need a motion to approve the appointments done in vacation by the Lincoln County Commission, Donald C. Whitman, clerk.
So moved.
Second. Motion second, all yes, motion carries.
I need a motion to give Charles S. McCann. Do you want to talk about this first?
Yeah, I think it's an important issue. We're not sure, I don't believe, as individual commissioners, and it's one of those things that all of us have experienced some input into after it's all been said and done, going back to the mid-'80s when the magisterial district issue was addressed. And we've seen in the paper just recently, the Lincoln Journal, where that some of the magisterial districts are not in proportion that they should be within the requirements of law, as I understand it. So I guess I'm just seeking, as I said in an earlier meeting, seeking help and assistance from the fellow commissioners and anyone in the public. My desire, and I'm sure the desire of the other commissioners, is to let's get this thing right and make sure that we have a good document to live by as we go the next 10 years. So it's important that we take time to get it right, but at the same time, we don't have a whole lot of time to get it done. It's one of those things that's got to be done and needs to be done prior to the 2012 elections. And it seems like a long way off, but it isn't. So we just need to, what I'm asking here is, I guess, to authorize me to work on behalf of the commission and with the commission to expediently get moving on this and do whatever we find necessary, whether it be working with a surveyor and or attorney and or maybe a consultant, maybe all of them, trying to look at the issues, what is required. Once we get the real census data, we know what's out there, we just haven't, it has not been delivered to us. But then maybe have a, once we get that, to review it, digest it, and maybe have a public meeting just to offer the public a chance to see that here's a process that's required that does affect you in some way, and maybe want some discussion and input into that. So I guess with this request here, that's where I'm headed, and certainly any support to help us make sure we get this thing done right. Whether it be Sean assistance or whoever may want to do that. So,
I motion we go ahead and give you authorization to do that.
And I'm the second.
good motion second. All yes, motion carries.
And as Mr. McCann says, I think it's important that we do have accurate numbers and do this as close to what's required as possible, because there are things now I think we're kind of out of bounds on that. It's not our fault. We didn't know the numbers till recently. And we're looking at numbers for the 2010 census too as being more accurate than the 2000 numbers were. So I'm sure this commission's committed to carrying through with the process and making sure all the documents and maps and things are done so that in the future everyone in the county knows exactly where we're at with this thing.
And I've been in contact with the county clerk in Putnam County and also the redistricting office in Charleston, but I'll give a more detailed update at the end of the meeting during my report.
I need a motion to approve the inter-office budget revision for the election as follows. Transfer $3,850 from materials to salaries. Transfer $295 from materials to FICA. Transfer $482 from materials to retirement. Transfer $1,300 from materials to travel, and transfer $500 from materials to training.
So moved.
Second.
Motion second. Again, all yes, motion carries.
I need a motion to approve an inter-office budget revision in the office of the circuit clerk as follows. Transfer $638.80 from travel to salaries. Transfer $638.80 for training to salaries. Transfer $300 from record books to materials. Transfer $100 from travel to retirement. Transfer $61.20 from travel to FICA. Transfer $100 from training to retirement. Transfer $61.20 from training to FICA. Transfer $100 from record books to retirement. Transfer $100 from record books to FICA.
Second.
Motion second. All yes, motion carries.
I need a motion to approve an inter-office budget revision for the West Virginia Extension, transferring $100 from area camp scholarships to materials.
So moved.
Second.
Motion is second. Again, all yes, motion carries.
I need a motion to approve an inter-office budget revision in the office of the county clerk as follows. Transfer $600 from record books to materials, and transfer $100 from telephone to travel.
Second.
Motion is second. Again, all yes, motion carries.
I need a motion to approve an inter-office budget revision for the office of the assessor as follows. Transfer $100 from retirement to salary, transfer $100 from retirement to FICA, transfer $1,500 from retirement to materials.
So moved.
Second.
Motion is second. All yes, motion carries.
I need a motion to approve an inter-office budget revision for the office of the prosecuting attorney as follows. Transfer $750 from travel to salary.
Second.
Have motion and second. Being all yes, motion carries.
Next thing, we had a letter from the town of Hamlin requesting for a donation for fireworks for the 4th of July celebration. Would you like to approve a donation to the town of Hanlon in the amount of $2,000.
That's what we usually do, isn't it?
Yes.
I'll second.
Have a motion second. All yes, motion carries.
I need a motion to approve the employment of Bethany Tony in the office of the county clerk's election division to assist in the purging of the voters effective July 13, 2011, at a rate of pay of $10 per hour.
So moved.
Second.
Motion second. All yes, motion carries.
I need a motion to approve an inter-office budget revision for the office of the commission, transferring $500 for advertising to postage.
So moved.
Second. Motion second. All yes, motion carries.
I need a motion to approve an inter-office budget revision from Communications Center as follows. Transfer $2,000 from telephone to materials. Transfer $8,100.11 from rental to materials. And transfer $2,000 from training to materials.
So moved.
Second.
Motion second. All yes, motion carries.
I need a motion to approve an inter-office budget revision for the litter control as follows. Transfer $2,000 from contract services to salary. Transfer $700 from contract service to FICA. And transfer $900 from contract service to retirement.
So moved.
Second.
Motion second. All yes, motion carries.
Of course, y'all can see that this is at the end of the year, and we'll have to do all these budget revisions. Next thing on the agenda is Mike Mostyn. I think he listed.
Welcome, Mike.
Good morning, Commissioners. Thank you. Mine is very short and sweet. I just want to thank the Commission for helping us out in the past with your support, with your monies, with everything that you've done for our district. What I am requesting at this time is that every year the Commission gives us an allotment from the co-severance for self-help projects. I'm requesting that the Commission, any monies that we have left over from the 2011 to be transferred to 2012, and I can promise you that those monies will be used well.
Do you have a plan yet, or as to what you might use those for?
Yeah, in the next 60 days, I will present that to the board with a list of everything that qualifies for a self-help
I
project.
think that's what we want to see. Here's what we're going to use that money on. Our goal is to get more people water.
Yes, sir. We have people signing up every day on the Route 3 project that didn't sign up before. We have businesses in the Allen Creek area that are interested in moving into Allen Creek, seeking water. It's just a real positive note. And without the help,
You have a big district, so
I'm sorry?
I said you have a big district
Yes.
to be responsible.
We do. But without the help of the Commission, I don't think that we would have attained the lot that we've done.
Okay. We will try to do that. Once you show us a plan, and that way we can see what. Can I change gears?
Sure.
Is there any thing moving at all on the Alcoa Woodville project?
We are working with several different lending institutions and grant people to get the monies together for that project. We do have approximately $1.4 million to go toward that project, but we work on it every day. Right now, funds, as far as grants, has dwindled to almost nothing. But we are working with the USDA, with the DEP and several other folks, trying to get monies to do this project. That is our #1 priority.
Do you know how much Lincoln PSD can borrow without having to raise rates?
We could borrow approximately $2 million with the folks that we're going to add on and the income that will generate approximately $2 million.
At once Route 3 gets paying the customer.
That's correct. And the rates go into effect. And we're working with Activist Boone County, trying to get some more DEP money from their end. I don't think that they have moved forward on their project, so that's an option that we're looking at as well.
I did have the opportunity yesterday to talk with Mickey Brown from Boone County at another meeting I was at, and inquired about the project on Laurel Fork, Cameo, and he said they were pushing it hard, but they had run into some issues. Of course, I think the guy that was been leading charge on it may have retired or not working full time or something. He said that had caused a setback. But the commission in Boone was committed to making that project happen. He said we can not let up so that gets done. So I thought that was good because I was getting concerned about that end.
We put a lot of time and effort into that.
Yeah, a lot of money.
Mike, I know when I was working on the 10-mile project, we went to the ARC for some money. You applied for them?
Yes, that is part of our funding package. It's through ARC.
Tried mine substance too, haven't you?
Yes.
Abandoned mine.
Yes, AML, we did a study. Actually, the state spent, we got a grant to do a survey on AML, and we fell short of that.
Wasn't that question because there was a area of Boone County nearby that qualified?
That's correct. That's correct. There was a question, but we don't have anything from the DEP that says, yes, it is 50% impacted. At this point, it's about 43% impacted. In order to get any type of monies from a DEP, you have to be at least 50% impacted in that area.
I know we talked once, but I don't remember whether we pursued it or not. Knowing that we have the 1.4 million for the very extreme end of the Mud River watershed, due to the Hobet money and things, is there a separate cost of what it would take to run the main line extension but not do any of the really offshoots, just pick up the people on the main road and run a water line so we can utilize that money set aside for the Mud River watershed?
1.4. We have not broken it down into there.
It just seems like if it's carried on, of course, it just seems like, the cost is going to keep getting higher, and we should try to figure out some way to, if we could just run the main water line and hook onto those people who live on Bulger Road all the way down, not go to any offshoots, maybe ask the engineers, is that possible? Rather than trying to get 7 million, could we do it for 4.5 million or something? It just seems like that we need to look at other options because we've been digging and fooling with this for 2 years at least, and we're not moving anywhere.
I can surely look into that and see what.
I just ask your board and see, and ask your engineers to look at it and see if they can break out the costs. I mean, they're trying to add that at some point.
I think the main thing, as we found out on Route 3, is to be shovel ready and to be prepared, because you don't know at what time monies will come down. As you're very well aware, the $1 million that came down from the Army Corps was our salvation on the Route 3 project.
Well, yeah, I mean, you gotta have it ready, you gotta have your ducks in a row. And I guess the reason I asked the question about how much could we borrow without having to increase rates, if we could look in terms of, if we know that we could do this project somewhat in phase 1, whatever you want to call it, but if we could be part of a borrowing $2 million and go to this 1.4, could that get it what I'm saying?
Right.
I just think we need to look at this.
To get the trunk line
I
through.
think so.
I will definitely bring that to the board.
Appreciate it.
Next thing on the agenda is committee appointments. Commissioners, at the last meeting, we had, Commissioner Rainey had resigned off the Route 10 Coalition. You had resigned off of the Region 2 Workforce. And we want to appoint somebody to that.
If Commissioner Banks is interested in those, we can appoint him to both of those if he wants to try those and see. I did attend Workforce yesterday, and I'll give that in my report. There's a meeting scheduled for July, but they indicated yesterday they would not be meeting until probably September, so it's not one of those things we jump too quick.
I'll make a motion to appoint Commissioner Vance to the Route 10 Coalition. I guess we'll take 2 different votes if they want to.
I'll second that. Being all yes vote, motion carries.
Yeah, I move to appoint Commissioner Vance to Region 2 Workforce Development.
Second, being all yes, motion carries. And we appreciate you trying to get involved and help on getting some of this done because It'd be fun for you and make our life a little bit easier. Judy just mentioned something I wasn't aware of, that with the death of Lawrence Barrett, we did have a person representing us being Lawrence on the airport, Kanawha County Airport, Yeager Airport. And at some point, we may want to consider appointing somebody to that. We're considered part of that region. So, I'm trying to remember, talking with Mr. Barrett, he attended his meetings for a long time, then he got to where he's discouraged because there was no, seemed to be no ability for input from Lincoln County side of the table. So it may be one of those things that we want to be involved in, may not. So, just information.
Okay, next thing on the agenda is public comments. Anyone in the audience that's not on the agenda that would like to speak? Okay, Ms. Christie.
I want to talk a little bit about, I haven't been here since the election, and a little bit about what we're doing in our office. Starting with the election, election went very well. All precincts opened on time. We had all poll workers there. We were missing one Republican in Hearts at one of the precincts for the day, but everyone else showed up, and it was really well that day. We also want to thank Thomas, Will Commissioner Ramey, for helping us that night. We were busy and everyone coming in, and he helped us sort things and put things up and things. Another thing is, I spoke with ES&S over the warranty on the machines. Right before the last election, we sent 3 booths and 3 of the Ivotronic machines to be repaired. They came back, that bill was $2,000 and some dollars. So I contacted them and said, if we have our warranty, why are we paying this? The warranty's only on the Ivotronic machine, not the booths. So that $2,000 and some dollars was to fix 3 booths. I think one was a printer, the other things was little things, like a little lock was broke. I think the door was broke on one. I asked them if we could call them and order the parts, and then maybe we could fix it. I think that would be a lot cheaper, because they charge like $1,600 in labor just to repair those, like 3 little things. And when I'm looking at the parts, like one thing was $9, one was like $20. I think we would save a lot of money there if, if we would look into going through all the machines, seeing anything, little things like that, locks and things that needs to be repaired, and then us ordering it through them and then fixing it. So that's something to look into. For example, in early voting, we had an elderly lady that turned too quick and she lost her balance. Well, when she fell, she broke the door off the side of the machine. So like, that's a little thing. I would hate for us to pay all that shipping to send it there and then, then charge us all that money to fix little things like that. They said they would get back with us and all the counties on the warranty on the Ivotronic machines. That warranty does go up in September, but all counties have to agree, and then they let us know more about that later on. So they still don't know anything about it. Another thing is, I asked them about if they would purchase the e-poll books back. The ones that we purchased, if they would take those back, because we don't really care for them. And there was someone else that you all have to speak with, and I wrote that name down of the guy. I guess it was your sales rep at the time, so that's someone. Maybe you all can look into that and ask them for, if they would take those back.
That means Judy gets to do that.
Sure.
I just think that the ones through the state would be better, would be, easier for us.
What we got invested in? 6,000.
It was around 6, yeah.
I think just for the public's information, those e-poll books, how many counties in this state actually have those through ES&S? Is it 2?
2, yeah.
Okay, so what you have is you have ES&S, which is a private company, competing with the Secretary of State system. And it seems as if when we get ready for the elections, there's conflict between those 2 entities, whether or not the Secretary of State's office can get ES&S the information needed to get the poll books up and ready. So question exists, every election, are we going to be able to get the information from the Secretary of State's office to even use the e-poll books?
Right, and that information, ES&S wants that at least 30 days prior to the election, and really want it more than that. But a lot of people might come in that time, change their address, change their party, different things like that. Well, when you pull them up on the e-poll book where you have to send them out so early, you know, we had a couple of things happen like that over here, and I had to pull like the state system to see, you know, where those people were registered and things like that. So I just think it'd be easy. I think the states go straight into their systems, which is what we're using every day, and I just think that would be a lot easier
Do we
to.
know when the state will have their e-poll books ready?
I haven't spoken to them about it.
Because at the time when we purchased those e-poll books, the state was going to go with ES&S. Because myself and Jerry and Cricket went up there to that meeting, and there was state representative there, and the state was going to go with the ES&S books, and then they felt that it was, they could make some money or whatever, it would be cheaper on the counties to make their own e-poll book. And that's the reason we went with those, because there was no other e-poll books out there, and we wanted it because we thought it would be better over here at our early vote.
Right.
But now even to have the training done for ES&S, we had to have someone come in from Nebraska.
Yeah.
But that was because the person who was trained on it no longer works it.
Right. So that's something for us to, you know, look at and stuff, because if we could eventually get them out to all the polls, that was wonderful. Those systems would be great. No more printing all the poll books. They can pull it right up, and if I would go to a precinct here in Hamlin, they could pull me up and say, well, you're actually supposed to vote at West Hamlin. You know, here's the directions. I mean, it will print out, I mean, it'll do all kinds of stuff, so they're really nice. Another thing is the State Journal had came down, Jim Ross with the State Journal, and was doing a story on registered voters and the numbers in different counties. When he came down, he spoke with Donald, and I'm going to read a little bit some of the statements that's inside. Yeah, he called him Dan Whitten in the story. We've been on here, Lincoln County Clerk, I said Dan Whitten, knows how difficult it can be to remove the names from the voting rolls. It says, yet Whitten said cleaning up the books is a tedious process and errors are inevitable. He said that there's one woman in Lincoln County that's been married 3 times. During each marriage, she would come in the clerk's office to re-register under her new name, but she remained under her old names. So that put her in our system 4 times. If someone comes in and they mark new registration and don't fill out this little area in the bottom, when we go to pull them up, they're not on there. Well, we register them as a new voter, and we don't know their maiden name or what have you. So, like this lady, she was on there 4 different times, and those names stay on there until we catch it, and then once we catch it, then we move it to inactive, and then to cancel. Then you can purge. So there's a long process to it. It says even after the clerk's office receives a death certificate or another proof that the voter has passed, that name goes to your canceled list, has to sit there for 3 years before that's removed. After removing names from your registration rolls that shouldn't be there, Whitten said, it is not that we don't want to, we'd love to, but it's not that easy. And we explained to the gentleman the whole process, and I think he was shocked. I think he thought you could just go in there and remove someone, because he asked why couldn't someone just call in here and say, I moved, or so-and-so did pass. And we explained to him the reason they do that is, I could call in here, if I don't want you to vote, I could call in here and say, they moved. They're going to remove you, and then, you're not going to be able to vote. It also says that I had told him that there was 35 precincts, and so far in the elections division, we examined the rolls of 4 of them and moved about 1,000 names to the inactive status. Also, people who move out of the county often do not inform the county clerk's office to remove them. We have been working in our office, thanks to Bethany coming and helping me and things, and the other girls in the office. We have finished the Carroll District, and we have moved 1,285 people to inactive. So we have got that district done. So those people are going to sit there to inactive. Next year, if they don't vote in the general, next year in November, then we'll go ahead and move those to canceled. They're going to set cancel for 3 years, and we can purge them.
Just a question, 1,280 plus?
Yeah.
How many were inactive in Carroll District prior to starting this process, do you know?
I'm not 100% sure. I think we had 7 or 11 in the whole county.
Okay. I just
You know,
wanted to
so
make
I don't
sure
know.
that number was out there to show how much of an impact you've already had in a short amount of time.
Right.
These people that you're moving, did they know that you moved them? Do you notify them?
The ones who voted in 06 or just registered between 06 and 08, we have sent them a letter. The ones that show nothing since like 1998 and stuff, we went ahead and removed them. A lot of the people, if you get in there and look at it, a lot of the people, they might not even have their full address, or it might just say general delivery. Well, those letters are going to come back anyways, you
So
know.
when you say remove, do you mean take it off completely or move it inactive?
To inactive. Yeah. It'll be a while before we can move, you know, all these out, but
There is an effort to keep the most recent people notified of.
yes. Yes, that's another thing. We send out letters to some of them, and I apologize with the letters. There was a couple mistakes. So we're going to fix those letters and send them back out to everyone who had received them. But we've done more than just the Carroll District precincts. We've hit a couple other precincts too, but didn't finish that whole district. But since around the 1st of April, we have purged 3,298. We've canceled around 550, and we moved around 1,782 to inactive since the 1st of April. So we're getting there. Yeah, it's a long process, and when we're at the end of the day, our eyes are crossed and our heads hurt, but we'll get there. So hopefully, over the next few weeks, especially now since I have help. Reason it takes so long, the state does not have in their system where you could go under reports and ask for anyone who has not voted and get that list. They do not have that system. So I had to print A through Z of everybody that we have in our county and said enter from the very first person. Enter their voter registration number, hit the view, check their election history, come back out and either move them to inactive or mark them, you know, as a letter being sent, or mark them as okay. So that takes a long time. It's
Can they not give you a list of those who have voted? You said you couldn't get a list of who had not, but I was thinking you could generate a list of people who voted in the election.
We could probably pull lists like that. We're still going to have to go back and look at all the names though and try to pull through paperwork that way. It'd probably be quicker for us just to enter the numbers on the
You
computer.
guys are doing it, I'm just curious.
Yeah, it's probably taken at least a couple days, probably for one precinct, 2 or 3 days for a precinct. So that's how I started it out was,
But by 2012 election, we should be in pretty good shape.
oh yeah, all these will be done before the October election. That way I put in the letter that they could, you know, go out in October and vote, you know, but they needed to vote in 12 or they would be canceled. That would give them, actually we're giving them a little bit over a year. We're supposed to stay inactive for a year, but we're actually giving them a little bit longer than the year. So after November, we'll go in there and look. And I have found some people that might have been registered twice. And it could be some little thing, their birthday year. One might say 82, another one says 83. A little, you know, mistake if you're entering, or if their name's accidentally misspelled. They've probably came back, they've re-registered. And we went that way with it.
I would like to say, you know, there's a lot of work that you've already done, a lot more work to be done. And I commend county clerk, the staff, and I know that you and I have had a conversation about a redistricting meeting that took place in Chapmanville recently, where the Republican chairperson of Lincoln County shed Lincoln County and the county clerk's office and the county commission's office in a negative light. I think that it's easy to stand back in front of a statewide audience like that to talk about things of the past, be negative and contrary to trying to move things forward. But I believe the only way to be able to help Lincoln County improve is to come to the table and work toward the betterment of the voter rolls and the betterment of all people in Lincoln County. And I just want you to know that don't take to heart what she said publicly in front of a state audience. And if someone had been there from the county commission's office or the county clerk's office, we would have taken her to task over some of the things that she said.
Commissioner Rainey, I spoke with another administrator yesterday that was at the meeting and said they all thought that she was nothing but a laughing joke, and that was his exact words. Said they just was hoping that she'd hurry up and sit down because they just knew.
I had a delegate tell me that it was obvious that she had a personal vendetta. And, you know, I would like to see her as the representative of the Republican Party come and work with your office and work with the elected officials. There's no reason why, just because you don't agree with someone personally or politically, you can't have a professional relationship with them.
And I have stated that before the last election, when we were going through poll workers on both parties, that at any time, if they needed me, if they wanted me to talk at their committee meeting, you know, talk and explain the process or whatever, you know, I'd be there to help them. Donald has been over backwards, and comments of, we refused to do this, we said we refused, and things, that has never happened. I have never heard Donald, and I know myself, that's what I've been doing since April. I've never refused to purge or cancel or move anyone to inactive. I've worked really hard since, you know, I was put into the election position, and I know Donald's worked really hard. I've been in there. We've been going through names of, you know, even people we know and things, trying to.
I think it's obvious there's a concerted effort by the county clerk in your office to keep the public informed by you coming to the meetings, hiring extra staff, going to the trainings, working with the Secretary of State's office, and the results you've had. There's also a concerted effort by certain people in this county to draw Lincoln County in a negative light. And I think that we have the best people in the state, and I think the hardest working people, and it's not fair to this county and the people that live within this county to continually be put down by the same people over and over, when the question is, what have those people done to improve Lincoln County?
Well, I think any time you try to do something positive, you always have someone that can say, why didn't you do that before? You know, why wasn't these voters purged over the last 5 years or 10 years or whatever? But, you know, we can't sit here today and say why this is that way or that way. We can only say what we're trying to do to make it better. And I think getting you guys working on this is what makes it better. We can't go back and change things. You know, we can change things from now on. And that's what I think our objective is to make sure we have the most accurate voter roll that we can have. And when you're dealing with people, just like you say, when you've got different names, similarities, birthdays, things like that, it makes it very, very difficult to discern who's qualified and who's not to vote. But you don't want to get in a situation where we're suppressing vote or causing people not to be able to vote because of the procedure we carried out. I think you're doing it in the right way according to the law, and I think that it takes a while to get those things done. But there always has to be a starting point of getting them done, and I think we're already past the starting point. We're already in that process of making our rolls more accurate. So, and I think, just like Tom says, you know, anybody's going to, no matter what we do, no matter who does what, there's always going to be a detractor say, well, that should have been done sooner, or that should have been done, or whatever. But, you know, like I say, we can't go back and change things, but we can change things from now on. And, you know, and I think we're doing that. And I think it's not even trying to get out factual information. It's another to not be helpful. And if you're going to go in front of people and talk about people, it should be to help people. It shouldn't be to hurt people.
Any other questions, Mike?
Good job.
Thank you, Kristen. Is there anyone else in the audience that would like to speak at this time?
I want to say something before Bethany leaves, because I think you couldn't have picked a better person to help us here, and she has skills that we're not even using in the position she's going to be in. So, you know, I feel really, and I feel
Donald, you stay.
On to commission concerns. Commissioner Ranch, you have anything?
No, I don't. I would like to thank the commission for appointing me to those positions, and I'll do my best to represent the commission and the people of Lincoln County.
Okay, Commissioner Raymond?
Yes, on Saturday, June the 4th, I attended a kids fishing tournament at Mud River Dam. The event was sponsored by the Lincoln County Commission, Lincoln County Crime Watch, and the Sheridan Bass Club. A total of 110 children participated. Some of those in the audience here today I know were there and worked hard. And the Lincoln Journal did an excellent job in covering and the pictures they posted of the people in attendance. On that same day, I went to the Mud River Bluegrass Festival. The event was sponsored by the Lincoln County Commission, and President McCann and I passed out Lincoln County Commission-sponsored fans for those in the audience or in attendance. They were hot and appreciated the fans, and the fans simply said, provided by the Lincoln County Commission. The event, the evening of the 4th, I went to Camp Lakeview and visited the changing room that was still being worked on, and was able to take a few photos and stay at the camp for a little while. As I was headed to that area, my nephew was with me, and I was explaining what Camp Lakeview was and things that went on. And he looked over at me in this confused look, and he said, "I know, I go there and swim." So I guess he's taking advantage of what Rick has provided in the past. Monday, June 6th, I met with Lisa Mitchell and Colin Williams of the Mountain View Solar and Wind regarding the possibility of solar panels here at the courthouse. I've taken a little mission of looking into ways to try to reduce the utility costs here in the county and ask that they do a cost analysis of putting solar panels on the roof and come back, give us an estimate of how many panels would fit, what the cost would be. And they came back with an estimate of about $105,000 that would take care of about 4% of the electric. So I was, to say the least, very disappointed. I was hoping that the solar panel would provide a lot more of the electric, and over time would have been something that would have offset the electric bill and would have been a good investment. I think that as time goes on, more people invest in solar panels. It's something we can revisit later, but it just doesn't seem like at this point a good investment to spend over $100,000 for just 4% of the electric. The morning of June 7th, I attended the Bacon, Eggs, and Business Breakfast at Jim Ryan's Restaurant, and the president of the West Virginia Chamber of Commerce was the guest speaker. A very good turnout. We had Lincoln PSD, we had the Sheriff's Office, we had many local business leaders, and Patty Robinson from the Lincoln Journal was in attendance. I know that after sitting through the breakfast, there was a lot of hope that the discussion would be about Lincoln County and in specific the Allen Creek area and ways to help that area grow. And Steve, Mr. Roberts primarily talked about problems at the state level and the federal level, and really didn't get into any specifics about Lincoln County. And I know there was many business leaders in that area that left the event disappointed because they had hoped to talk specifically about public sewer, for example. And as a result of that, as a member of the Lincoln EDA, the next meeting talk about possibly coming back and having more of a grassroots discussion with the business owners and try to help the business owners come together and have a support group, if you will, and maybe have Mike to come back and talk about the success and progress and possibility of public sewer. On the morning of June the 8th, I attended the Corridor G Regional Development Authority meeting in Logan, and we had a few just minor items on the agenda. Leadership Southern, which is an initiative from the different EDAs sponsored by the Corridor G EDA to bring in leaders from the different areas to be able to learn hands-on in different areas such as healthcare, go into a hospital, maybe go into the different areas of the hospital and see the equipment that's used, go to the mining, strip mining, and watch that in action, come to the courthouses and see exactly what it is the elected officials do in each office. Also, the Corridor G EDA had sponsored an ad in the West Virginia Executive Magazine highlighting southern West Virginia and the economic development of certain areas. On Thursday, May the 9th, I had lunch with Lincoln PSD member Gary McAllister, and we talked about the public sewer and some other things, and he's also a member of the EDA, and we talked about our disappointment with the breakfast that we had had previously. On June 13th, I had a conference call with Vivian Parsons. She's the executive director of the County Commissioners Association here in West Virginia. My conference call was about redistricting, and she and I researched the steps that need to be taken, the appropriate time when you need to redistrict, and she's also still contacting different county commissions to see what steps they're going to take. On June the 14th, I had another conference call with Joe Vaughn of the Legislative Automated Systems Division. She had recommended that we place on the agenda today to hire a contractor, an attorney, surveyor to be able to adequately look at what's happened in Lincoln County, the numbers, the magisterial districts, and that day I also spoke with Putnam County Clerk Brian Wood. He told me how exactly Putnam had last handled their redistricting. I wasn't aware, but Lincoln County having 6 magisterial districts, that is more than most counties have. The majority of counties have 3 or 4. I know that Logan has 3, Putnam has 3, Kanawha County with their large population has 4, and she was telling me that with Laurel Hill numbers declining and some of the other areas growing, that we probably should have the consulting firm come in, do an analysis of the populations to see where the balance could be met and how many districts we would have at the end. And we need to work on this immediately, because if redistricting would affect a specific precinct, we would then have to give a 30-day notice to the public before the election so they would know exactly where their new precinct would be. On Wednesday, June 15th, I met with E.L. Robinson representatives about the ongoing work on the County Commission's proposed building across the street. And that same day, I had a conversation with Magistrate Snodgrass in regards to the mandated funding that is supposed to be provided through the Supreme Court per magistrate, which is $15,000, and told her that our records indicated that we had only received about $12,000 per year, and we should be receiving $30,000. So County Administrator Johnson, Magistrate Snodgrass, and myself sat down. We contacted the Supreme Court, and then also the Boone County Administrator to look at, are we supposed to be receiving more money? Are we supposed to be following through on maybe a form that we should fill out to make sure that we receive all of the money? But at this point, we still haven't resolved why we're only getting $12,000 to $13,000 of the $30,000. And that would be magisterial rental money from the Supreme Court. Hopefully by the next meeting, we'll have that resolved and have an answer as to why we haven't received the full 30. That's all I have.
Okay, I'll just follow up here with a few things. Of course, all my notes say May, but I just now penciled through them, but June. I must have been tired when I typed it up. Anyway, on June the 4th, we did have our kids fishing tournament, and we had the largest number of participants this year we've ever had, even though we didn't go to the age 14, just went to 12. But it is a very good wild thing, and we give out door prizes thanks to the commission. We give out trophies to the different divisions based on the size of fish and how many. And then each participant will be sent a T-shirt in the mail. We decided that a few years back we'd get their name, those that come, and their size, and then actually send them something in the mail to remind them again that this whole concept is to not only promote the kids and give them something to do, but our thing, what we call it is get them hooked on fishing rather than drugs, trying to ease a message in there and let them know that they can have fun and they can do things here in Lincoln County, and drugs doesn't have to be part of it. So we keep pushing that message out there, and hopefully eventually, help a few kids. We could not do that as a commission without the help of those people who come and volunteer. We have every year had more and more people come in and say, I can help. Of course, the Sheridan Bass Club has always been involved, as well as the Lincoln Crime Watch people, and some of them are here, and they know that it's a fun day, but it's a work day for some people. So it's been good, but it's really exciting, and I learned something. Of course, I'm not really professed to be much of a fisherman. I like to fish a little, and I certainly like to eat fish, but a couple of kids at the tournament this year won the biggest fish caught. They caught maybe a 15-inch bass and a 17-inch bass right there at the boat docks, and I couldn't imagine. I watched one of them try to get him in, and he forgot to set the drag on his line, so he was actually pulling the line in. I said, there's no way he's going to get that fish in. That was the 15-inch one, and he got him in. A little bit later, they caught another one. Another kid did right in the same area, and I had to ask. I said, what are you using for bait? And he said, oh, I always use wieners. Cut wieners. I said, didn't know bass would do that, but those little kids, they were proud of those two fish. On the afternoon, as Commissioner Rainey mentioned, we did go up and attend the Bluegrass Festival and hand out the fans just to the compliment from the commission. And again, another well-attended event, and I'm sure that we'll have Mr. Gaypart in soon to give us an update on his opinion of it, and looking forward to maybe doing something again next year. But it's certainly another hot time, but it was a good time. Around June the 10th, I had a conversation with the person who did the survey in the 80s for Lincoln County on the magisterial districts, and spoke with him about what took place back then as he could remember, and did he have records of what took place as far as a survey. And he assured me he did, and he also assured me that he'd be willing to work with us as we move into this new phase. But he did inform me that he had retired and he was not interested in being employed or anything, but he would provide his services as far as any historical data, whatever might have happened back then. He did have his files in, and he'd be willing to work with whoever and whatever when we get ready to draw the new boundaries and look at those discrepancies. And so I thought that was very good information to have, knowing this person was still available and willing to help us. So we'll just keep that in mind as we move forward on that. Also, you heard Commissioner Ramey mention about talking to people. Well, I had worked on it from a different angle, and someone was saying too. I contacted Kanawha County after talking to some with Ron Gregory about it. What did he know about what did they do up there? How was they moving forward? And we were not able to, because I did see in the paper where they were having a public meeting. And so I was talked to Mr. Armstrong. He informed me that I probably should talk to Mr. Luoni, who used to be on the school board in Kanawha, and he was sort of heading this up. And I did speak with him and trying to find out, what are our obligations, when will we get this information. And he said, he had the same issues, and he informed me that he was able to get a hold of the person, the same one Thomas ended up getting hold of, Joe Vaughn, and she had been able to provide him with the information as far as the census data for Kanawha County, and he was using that, and he would certainly be willing to work with us any way he could to help us. And it seems like everyone is willing to work with us. So I think we'll, as we move forward and get into this in probably midsummer, we should be able to have plenty of help, some people to call and guide us. So I don't see any problem work through the process. June the 5th, yesterday, attended as a member of the Tri-River Transit Board at our meeting, and we did not have a meeting a month before, but we did able to cover everything yesterday. Paul's, our director, has had lots of illness, and her mom just recently passed away, so we were trying to catch up and get things done, but no surprise, but it was information provided yesterday that indicated that we are over budget quite a bit on fuel, and two reasons. Of course, the cost is one, but we have changed routes. We are traveling quite a few miles, and got lots of vehicles on the road. But the good part of this, although we were running short on our budget for fuel, our passenger count is up, which tells you maybe people are having the same problem. More people riding the bus, so it's this past month of May was the highest month we've ever had, I believe, what the figures show, best we could determine yesterday. They still plan to make some adjustments on routes to get some more riders in Logan County. They've been working on it, and I believe that the Man area of Logan County will be served here soon, and that we believe is going to increase passenger count again. One of the items that did come up yesterday that was a budget concern is under this non-emergency transport, the NETS program. There's been a lot of discussion from the federal level how they're going to change the process as to providing money for this. And basically it's our people that we transport, our kidney dialysis people, and I think right now that the Department of Health and Human Services, the money comes there and then it's distributed. Well, they're talking about a different system now, and they've had several meetings, and some legislation was put in last year that never did pass because it felt like, I guess, the transportation people in the state didn't think it was part of the time to do that, but they're talking about a voucher type system, and again, where that maybe other people, rather than transportation people, could provide transportation to people, hire them out, whatever. But what we found out yesterday in looking at the crunching the figures, looking at what we were doing, how many people were transporting and number of miles, what's it cost, that we're not making any money at all on it. So we're not sure that, we've been at the table for a year saying, well, we think we need to keep this system like it is. Maybe not, not just give it to other people, other vendors, but after looking at the figures as of what we gathered up, and we're going to do more, but it seems that maybe we're doing a lot of transportation, getting a lot of people taken to the doctor's office and kidney dialysis places, but it currently is not a break-even. It's maybe a little less than break-even. We're going to find out more about that at the next meeting. They're working on that now. In the afternoon yesterday, our Region 2 workforce meeting was in Huntington, and we did have our meeting at 2 o'clock yesterday. And basically, most of the report, they had 3 different people there giving reports. One was the guy from Steele, West Virginia, and the guy that handles all of the on-the-job training for the state was there to talk about the importance of on-the-job training monies. For a while, the federal government went away from that. Now they're back to it, giving as much money or more for on-the-job training. And the guy from Steele, West Virginia, just wanted to sort of plead to the Region 2 board that you need to continue that and help, because it does 2 things. It not only trains and gets a person ready for work, but they screen them and whatever before they get them there, but they train them the way they want them to be to do the specific job. But he said, of course, the advantage to them as a company trying to compete worldwide in Huntington, West Virginia, is that by getting the on-the-job training money, that a portion of that 1 year money that they're paying employees is reimbursed to the federal government. So it gives them their profit margin, helps them as a company stay in West Virginia, helps them stay in Huntington, West Virginia. So he was just there basically saying, let's keep this going, and you all work with us and help us, because it makes local jobs, but it also helps us be competitive in the world market. So the other thing that we were told yesterday, we heard a little bit about, that with the, used to be as a program called CETA. It was a program that trained people to work, and they're trying to come back with some form of that, and we believe that there'll be some employees that can be funneled into different agencies on a one-year basis, come in and work, and it costs the county nothing. They'll be reimbursed for the salary or the wages, and if you decide you can keep that person, you can, but you're not obligated to. So they're trying to work out that, have that ready by late summer, that this program might be available where if we need some additional help in different offices across the county, that we may be able to get so many people and do that. So, other than that, the student work program is up and ready. We were introduced to some of the staff yesterday, and basically we have asked here to have 8 students between 14 and 19 assigned to the commission to help do their various projects. So that's pretty much my report.
I just wanted to add one thing when we talk. I think it's really significant that we have this business designation, certified business location. I know, and we need to, I think, acknowledge those people on the EDA that were on the board, including Ms. Johnson, because I know she worked with Neil, the EDA director, prior to Larry Studd on this project, and I know he was constantly aggravating me about the need to complete the strategic plan and infrastructure development and things like that, because he felt this was a very important thing for the county. And so I'd like to thank him for his work and the prior EDA members that were involved with the development of the strategic plan and infrastructure development.
Yeah, a lot of people have had a lot of involvement for a long time. And this is just the beginning, I hope. Just need to keep moving. Anything else? Coming July, I'm going to suggest that we only have one meeting, the first meeting. We can look ahead of time and make sure, but basically just family vacation for me. But we can work it out. We'll, at the next meeting, just have the one meeting in the first part of July, and we'll try to have everything put on the agenda for that time. Hearing nothing else, anyone from the audience? We have a motion to adjourn, 12 o'clock. We stand adjourned.
It's a one.